Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here at Databricks at this summit. We're with Avanade. I run our global data business here at Avanade. And Felix,
Yes.
introduce yourself.
Yes, so I'm Felix, and I'm the solution architect of the solution that is going to be presented here. And I'm not as far away as Luke, but living in Düsseldorf in Germany.
At Avanade, many haven't heard the name. We're actually a fairly large company. We're about 40,000 people, $2.8 billion in revenue. But what we really focused on is trying to be the leading digital innovator in the Microsoft ecosystem. So this is something we really take passion around. We work with enterprise clients. And from that perspective, we're really excited all things Microsoft. So when Databricks came, and they were first-class citizens in Azure, that was a big deal for us, and it's really helped out with our clients. We really are excited. We received a strategic investment award for our collaboration with Databricks. We've upskilled our practice. Several hundred people have been trained in Europe. We are doing lots and lots of projects with clients, helping them out. Felix is going to go through one of those projects that we have, but we're really excited. They solve an area in our architectures with the compute, both from a data engineering, data science perspective, to really help use data in different ways to help their customers, help their employees, and then also enhance their business processes. Before we get into the details of the solution, we'll talk about what we're seeing with our market and the clients. Databricks is showing up everywhere, whether a client of ours is looking at doing a new business model based on data and AI, whether they're looking, trying to operationalize and enhance their business processes, or they're trying to become digital. Databricks has been really key to our journey, technical journey here. We take a different approach than a lot of SIs and consulting firms. We don't focus necessarily on Databricks when we first go into a client, but when we do, and it's around data platform and AI, it's around 9 out of 10 times it's used. It just ends up that way. But we really focus on value and business outcomes to help our clients realize what they're trying to do. Outcome-based is really key. And then proving it out, then we'll industrialize it, and then we enhance and look for more value. And with that, we'll go through a story with ThyssenKrupp that Felix will highlight here.
Yes. Thank you, Luke. So exactly this approach is what we've applied at Thyssen, the project we're going to speak about today. It's ThyssenKrupp Material Services. And it all started off with an advisory phase in which we investigated several different use cases. And then the one promising the most business value for them was chosen, and this is the one we are speaking about today. So what's the challenge? What are they trying to do? ThyssenKrupp Material Services is a distribution company. They are distributing a lot of steel and heavy materials. So on the first side, it seems quite simple. You have here this one symbol, MX Material Services. That's the company, and you have a customer. So there's one company, one line. Why are we talking about this, and why is it worth to tackle this problem with Databricks? Because in reality, it's a bit more difficult than this simple picture. It's 30 different warehouse locations. It's 40,000 different customers. It's up to 100,000 standard materials, which they ship regularly. And it's about 2 million sales positions per year. And the question is, where do you want to store materials? How do you want to assign customers to different locations to ship the material to? And how do you transport the stuff to these customers? And how do you do this optimally? So this is why there's a business case behind this idea, because shipping is more and more expensive. Now explaining why this is quite complicated. If you look at the complexity of the problem, just having one material at two sites, if you want to decide where to stock it, you have 4 combinations with three sites, 3 materials. it's already 2 to the power of 9, 512. And if you do this with only 20 sites and 14 materials, which is a lot less than what they have in reality, as you see in the first paragraph, it's more than atoms in the universe. So it's not really brute forceable anymore. And thus, we need a scalable platform to cope with this challenge. So in reality, the network looks like this, and you have intermediary plans where you go by to ship the material to the final location, and then there is trips going from one customer to another, delivering multiple customers on the same trip, and all this has to be considered. So that's the challenge we want to tackle, and the motivation is they want to understand what's happening if you do network adjustments, if you deliver from other areas, if you open up new storage facilities, if you close existing storage facilities, and what is the influence of external factors. So what happens if the transportation costs in the Netherlands are going to rise by 10%? How much is the transportation cost of them going to increase? And if you see all these different things to optimize, you realize there's on the one hand transportation costs. That's quite simple, because if you just store everything at every location, you wouldn't have to transport anymore. But then there is the other corner of this triangle. There is the networking capital, so you just cannot afford to store heavy material steel in all locations, because it needs a lot of space, and it's worth quite a lot if you stock it by millions of tons. So then the last corner is the service level. So just saying, okay, we just deliver our customers every second month, then you probably can save a lot of storage cost as well. However, it's not what you as a premium logistics provider want to do, but the own aspiration they strive for is to be able to deliver everything within 24 hours. So it has to be there on time. And thus, we thought about a solution to solve this, and it's available to end users with Excel and Power BI. They can see the results, they can start simulations. There's a Power App to configure these simulations, and it's enabling the business, bringing this data science approach out of only experts, but providing it to business users, which we are going to see on the next slide. And it's providing already a lot of value by delivering curated data and giving information by this. So looking here, what kind of users are served by this solution? You on the one hand have business process managers. They want to do their decision and have an understanding what's happening up front, because the network is so complex that none of their planners just is able by gut feeling to say what's going to happen. Or they have an idea, but if you want to become data-driven, which they have on their agenda, they have to somehow base this on facts and not just on a gut feeling. And then there's the network planner that on a daily level have to decide where to stock stuff and how to configure the network, and at which locations you have to increase capacities to be able to handle the load that you're going to incur with this solution. And finally, there's data scientists that are very happy to have a capable platform to do the planning. And as we've heard in other talks today before, we started off with a solution that was based on, so it's all Azure PaaS, as most of the solutions we are building as Avanade. And the first solution was a POC, quickly showing and demonstrating the business value to convince the stakeholders to invest more. And then it was the place that is here currently shown as a Databricks symbol previously was a stored procedure, 2,000 lines of code doing all kinds of funny stuff to be able to cope with the simulation and prove that, in fact, it is possible to simulate and to give decent results. However, they realize that now that we've shown it, we have to make it production ready and be able to support it and extend it to go from the pure simulation aspect of the solution to an automatic optimization process. And with the stored procedure, that nicely showed that it's a problem that can be tackled, but it was currently out of reach to be able to optimize, because calculating one scenarios took hours or 2 hours to be finished, and thus iterating over different configurations would have taken years if you just want to try it intensively. And thus the solution was converted to Databricks, and this was actually quite a simple task. We had the stored procedure. Most of the effort went into understanding the network, knowing how it's configured, which parameters are the most important ones, and to validate the data we got from source systems and all the stuff that's always the problem in real-world projects. And then exchanging the technology was quite a simple task, and we've replaced it with Databricks, and this brought us the benefit. So the performance went from hours to minutes, and then it's scalable. So in a decent cluster configuration, it's minutes, but we would even be able to scale it up. Then instead of having thousands of lines of T-SQL, it's now a nice notebook experience where you have the readability, where you can do debugging output, where you can do visualizations in place, and all this fancy stuff. And you can even integrate the notebooks into continuous deployment as the whole solution is built on. So this gives you the enterprise readiness and ease of debugging and reading of code, and it makes the solution ready for the future, not be limited by the capabilities of a SQL database, but having everything in Databricks, and thus having the foundation to do more in the future. So this is why we've been very happy with Databricks, and actually this project has been recognized before. If you want to read a full story on it, you can see Satya Nadella that posted this on LinkedIn, and it's a public reference by Microsoft.
Cool. With that, any questions?
It can be both. So currently, the previous version was a batch engine, because as it took so long, we needed the night. We couldn't say to the user, please now wait for 2 hours and come back. And it would even block the database, because there is a Power App to configure all the supply chain network parameters. And thus, we had to do it as a batch. Now it's actually triggerable by the user. So you say, I want this to be calculated, and then in the background, it's going through all the different Azure services, so a data factory kicking off Databricks notebook, loading this stuff into analysis services in the end, and then you can see the results that you want to have. Yes, so that's the idea. You not only have one scenario, but you can configure dozens of scenarios, and you have a front end to compare different versions and see, okay, if I have this network configuration, I have that many million transportation costs. If I now close 5 plants, then I have more transportation costs, presumably, but you see where the current plants or where the current transports would go to. So this depends on what's then the nearest plant to customer. So this is what it's used for, to understand the effects between switching parameters in one of these scenarios.
Awesome. If you have more questions, please feel free to see them at the booth. Thank you,
No,
Felix and Luke.